Hello, everyone, and welcome to this professional development training here on the Mrs. D's Corner and the Intentional IEP YouTube channel. I'm so excited that you're here. Today, we're going to be taking a look at our new IEP meeting guide. We're going to talk about the difference between the IEP meeting toolkit that we already have in the shop and the IEP meeting guide, and I'm going to give you a walkthrough of every single document that is included inside of this new resource. Are you ready? Let's go. So there are 5 different sections that are included within this IEP meeting guide bundle of resources. So we have all of the resources that you're going to need pre-IEP meeting, and then we have all the resources you are going to need during the IEP meeting. Then you have post IEP meeting. Then there are some additional resources and PDFs for like compliance things, procedural safeguards. And then there's a 5th folder that is there with extra tools that you can use along the whole IEP meeting process way. So first, let's take a look at what's included in the very first folder, which is your pre-IEP meeting. Now, some of these resources may look familiar because they are free resources we have available. Anything that is free, I will link it below this training as well, but it is included in the download, so you don't have to go download it again. And you can find the link for the IEP meeting guide in this video description as well as link to this video. So the first thing I want to start with that really is going to set the pace for your entire IEP meeting and all of your IEP meetings is our IEP meeting timeline. Now, this is a free resource at the Intentional IEP. Again, I will link this in the video description below, but it is included in the section 1 here of the IEP meeting guide. What this is going to do, I will link a video that goes through all of the different steps of how to use this, but we want to make sure that we are starting this with 45 days out because that gives us enough time as the case manager and the special education teacher to meet with the other team members, get their feedback, write the IEP, and not do so the night before the meeting. So definitely check out the IEP reading timeline. Again, video linked below here that goes through each of those parts. I also want to introduce you to the IEP meeting checklist. This is another free resource that we have at the Intentional IEP, and I will link below, but it is included again in the IEP meeting guide. And what it's going to do is you're going to see the things that you need to do before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the IEP meeting. So you'll see this document again in the post and during the IEP meeting sections as well. Now let's get into some of the new resources that we have here within this resource itself. So we have our draft IEP concerns. Now these are not in any specific order of which you should use them. I'm just going to show them as to how they have printed out from when I printed them to show you. So you can use this if you are sending out a draft IEP, which we talk about in the IEP meeting or the IEP writing timeline. When you're sending out that draft IEP, you should be doing so with enough time to where you can have that conversation with the parent before the IEP meeting to discuss any concerns, suggestions, or just anything in general about what was sent in that proposed draft IEP. Again, a proposed draft IEP only includes the present levels because that's all data, and the proposed IEP goal, which is breadcrumb linked to the present levels in the child's IEP. Anything else from there is predetermination, but that's not what this video is about. So you can send this home with it as well, or send it home a couple of days later. Here is the draft IEP concern. Send it home to the parent, allow them to fill it out. Here's the page number, because we know that those present levels can be pages and pages long, and they should have a lot of data in it. And then you have your proposed goals, and sometimes different IEP templates. Sometimes they'll have them all listed on one page for all the goals. Some of them each have their own page with all the things. So giving them a spot for a page number for easily to find, and then their questions or concerns so that they can easily have that information handy to have that conversation with you. You can also give them a reminder here with when the IEP meeting is, how to contact you, all of that good stuff. So it's all in one place. You can either send this a couple days after you send home the proposed draft or send it home with the proposed draft. The next document is actually a Word document, and it is completely editable. So what you're going to do is these are different email templates that you can send out to team members prior to the IEP meeting. So we have our IEP input forms and our questionnaires, which we're going to show you here in a second, but sending out that email saying, hey, the questionnaires are coming. Don't forget to send it back. Here's when it's due, blah, 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 all that good stuff. Then you have, well, this one is for the parents. So there's a template email for the parents, a template email for the teachers. Then you have to schedule the IEP meeting. Here is a template of an email that you can send out to get that IEP meeting scheduled. pages are sticking together. An IEP meeting reminder to send a couple of days prior to the IEP meeting to the parents and the rest of the IEP team to remind them that the IEP is coming up, the IEP meeting. If there is a virtual IEP meeting scheduled, you have that template. Sending home the proposed IEP draft to the parents, there is a template for that email, as well as related service provider information, sending out that email as well. So again, those are completely editable in your Google Docs, or it's in a Word document. You can throw it into your Google Drive and use it there. The next thing I want to show you are the reminders for the IEP meeting or the scheduling notes that you can send home. Now, these are each, this one is a half sheet, this one is a half sheet, this one is a full sheet. So here's a full sheet. And so they're editable because you want to be able to add your own date and time in here. So sending this home saying, hey, we have an upcoming IEP meeting. This could be if you want to send home a paper document instead of the email document, you can use them together. Remember, we have to have 3 documented attempts to be able to hold an IEP meeting without the family members. So make sure you use your documented attempts. But you can send this home. It's a full page doc, and then there is also a half page, so you can cut it in half. And then this one is also a half page, which is a reminder. Those are editable in Microsoft PowerPoint. These are meeting reminders. So these ones are, there's 3 on a page, and then this one's more like a bracelet, or you could tack it onto their backpack, put it around their lunchbox or something. But these IEP meeting reminders are great to send home to parents, but also to other team members. Stick it in their mailbox, all that good stuff. Print it on colored paper is what I would do. I would print these on colored paper, so that way you can see them easily when they're in a mailbox or in a student's backpack or any of those things. All right, one of my most favorite resources that I had created for this specific IEP meeting guide was a data summary form. Now, we know how important analyzing data is in the whole process of the IEP and writing that new IEP, right? And so I'm going to link a podcast episode we have about analyzing data at the Intentional IEP podcast, but we're not going to go into it super deep. But here we have 2 different versions of the data summary form. So you can graph the data, which I highly recommend. If you are a paper pencil grapher, you can use this. If you graph everything with Google Sheets or in an Excel, definitely use that, but you have this option here. This is for a singular IEP goal. So for however many IEP goals that child has, you'll have a data summary form for each one. It shows mastery, yes or no, date of mastery, provided supports, and then what are the next steps from here. This gives everyone the visual of here's the goal, here's the mastery criteria, here's the progress, right? Based off of the data. Did we have mastery? When did they master this goal? What supports did they receive with that, alongside that goal to achieve mastery? And then what are our next steps from here? If they did or did not master it, what are our next steps? This is a different version of that form where you can put multiple goals on a sheet at a time and not have the graph. So if you're graphing things with Google Sheets and showing those, or you have your own graphing form or your IEP system does it for you, that's really cool. But you can use this. So you put the skill, the criteria, the data points that you have. So this is your summary form. All of your data is going to go into here. You do have your progress reports, but this just makes it like real quick and easy, a one form sheet. Mastery, yes or no? What was the date of mastery, provided supports, and then what are the next steps? So love these new forms. I'm really excited to bring those into the world for you. Then we have our input forms. So these are the input forms that are already in the shop, but they are provided here for you in this as well, because it's very important for you to be sending out these questionnaires. I call them input forms prior to the student's IEP meeting. So here is the general education teacher input form. It is a double-sided, so side A and side B. If you want to print it on 2 sides and staple it, definitely do that. Send this out to the gen ed teacher if you're using the IEP writing timeline. It's going to tell you when to send those out. It's a note, it's right here, about 30 days out. Then we have the student IEP questionnaire. So there's 2 versions of this. There is this version here where students can answer it themselves, or they can verbally tell you the answer and you can write it in here. The other questionnaire for students is one for students who have higher support needs and or they are not yet able to write, and so maybe they can just fill in one of these circles. And so these are what I used in the self-contained classroom. So you'd ask them these questions, and then there are also little cards. So similar to if you would give them, a field of choices of, pick one. I'm going to read you the statement. So I like coming to school. Which one is how you feel about coming to school? They would choose that one, and then you would fill it in on here. So you have those as well. The paraprofessional IEP questionnaire. You have this as well. I'm going to link the download below here. This is a free resource at the Intentional IEP. There's also a paid version of it that is editable, gives you the Spanish version, and you get the digital version. And you have the parent questionnaire, which is double-sided. You can print front back or just send it out 2 pieces. Now, each of these questionnaires that are included in here do come with the printable PDF version, comes in Spanish. It also is available as a digital Google form. So if you wanted to use those email templates, send this link in that email template and ask them to fill it out. So they all come in that format. You can use whichever one is going to work best for you. So these are all the documents that you're going to see inside of section 1, which are the pre-IEP meeting documents. Now, when it comes to the IEP meeting, we have a whole other section of documents that I want to walk you through. So the very first one is an IEP meeting in progress sign that you can hang on the door. I would laminate it and put it on your door wherever you're having the IEP meeting. Then we're going to move into IEP meeting ground rules. This is a good one. So here are some ground rules for your IEP meeting, but also there is a bulletin board, and this is a picture of the completed bulletin board, but the bulletin board is included for you. This is already in the shop. We have IEP meeting room bulletin boards and bulletin boards for the school that are related to special education and inclusion and diversity and all of those things. But this is the IEP meeting ground rules 1. And so you can have this available at the IEP meeting itself, but then have this also hanging up somewhere so that everyone is on the same page. These next 2 pages, again, these are not in any particular order. There's just how they got printed out. These are our IEP referral timeline and then the IEP process timelines. These are per the IDEA, so they're not state specific. There we go. But you definitely can reference these and share these with parents so they know what the IEP process and the referral process looks like when it comes to their child's IEP. Then we have the LRE continuum. So this is a poster. So you have the least restricted to the most restrictive environments. And this is great to bring out when you're talking about placement for a child. So this is included. Then we have our IEP agendas. And so there's 3 different agendas that are included with this IEP meeting guide. I'm trying to pull them all out. So you have the annual IEP, the initial IEP meeting, and then you also have the amendment IEP. This comes with an agenda. This comes with your IEP meeting agenda notes. So there's a section for each part of this. And then there's one that's already filled in so you can see all the different spots. And then there's a blank one. So you can definitely use these, edit them as needed for your annual, edit them as needed for your initial IEP meetings, and edit as needed for your amendment IEP meetings. Those are all included with all the notes pages. Then the new resources come into play here for this section of the IEP meeting guide. We have our collaborative sentence starters for IEP meetings. So you definitely want to use these to build a more collaborative and student-centered conversations for the student. There's some that are related to promoting collaboration and shared ownership, to clarify, reframe, or check for understanding, to keep the focus on the student, and then to ground decisions in data and observations. So you can definitely use these. Share this with the IEP team so that you're all on the same page and can have more of that collaborative atmosphere when it comes to IEP meetings. Then there are some conflict diffusion strategies that you can use. There's 2 pages here. There's 8 different times that you may need conflict diffusion. And then there's also conflict resolution. So there's those couple of strategies on this page. Those are all included for you. Then we have our IEP meeting concerns and discussion points. I call it the parking lot. And it's basically a notes page. There's different versions of it that are included, but you use these throughout the IEP meeting to, those times when you have an IEP meeting and things come up and it's not directly related to whatever we're talking about right now, but it's something that does need discussed because, oh, squirrel, I forgot to ask about this. Well, it's not time. We're not quite there yet, but let's park it so that we can come back and talk about it here in a minute or discuss it after the IEP meeting and we can still take care of it. That's what these pages are for. These are for either the parent to use or for you as the teacher caseload manager or somebody else on the team to use to put their questions, put their concerns, have discussion points, but also have that parking lot for discussions that maybe it's not quite the time to talk about it right now, but yes, we still want to talk about it. I don't want to forget about it. So I'm going to write it down here so we could talk about it later or after this. That is what that's for. Then it comes to some IEP meeting scripts. And so these are all available in the IEP meeting guide. They're all in a Google or a Word document you could use in a Google Doc as well. But what you're going to do is you're going to either edit them or just have it up and use this to help you with hosting or facilitating your IEP meeting. So there's an IEP meeting opening script. Then there's the present level section script to go over that, the IEP goals and objectives script, the least restrictive environment or placement script, assistive technology, transportation. Then we have extended school year services script. And there's also then an IEP meeting closing script. So you can use these if the IEP meetings are new to you and you're not sure how to facilitate it, you're not sure what to say, you can definitely use these to help you along the way. So that is what is included for during the IEP meeting portion of this IEP meeting guide. Let's talk about what comes next. What comes after the IEP meeting? Again, in no particular order, it's just how they get printed out. We have the parent guide of what comes next. So the IEP is finalized, the implementation begins, communication and progress reporting, upcoming checkpoints, follow up from today's meeting, and then it all follows down into the next IEP meeting. So this is great to give to parents so they have an expectation of like, here's what's going to come, here's when you're going to see certain things. This doesn't mean, the end of this meeting doesn't mean we're not going to talk to you till the next year, till progress reporting. Here's what's coming up. It's great to use to keep parents informed. And after IEP meeting review, this is for you to do as an IEP team or as the facilitator and caseload manager of the student. After you host an IEP meeting, if you notice that maybe the IEP meeting went really, really stinking well, or maybe really, really stinking bad, this after IEP meeting review is great for you to keep note for yourself of how to facilitate better or how to keep doing what you did well, do it more, right? With other IEP teams. So what was the purpose of the meeting? How did the meeting go? Did you discuss everything? What do we want to keep doing? What do we want to improve? What do we want to stop doing? What do we want to start doing? 3 biggest improvements we can make, and what are our goals for the next IEP meeting? This is just to help you as the facilitator be the best facilitator that you can be and the most collaborative that you can be. That is for you. IEP acknowledgement of receipt. This is for just your own data to show that you handed out the IEP, have the teacher sign off, or the educator, professional, whoever received the IEP when you give it to them, have them sign off on it, the date that they received it, to show that you did your job as handing out the IEP and you documented that it was given and they are saying, yes, I received the IEP. Again, document everything because you never know when you're going to need it. Then there's an IEP snapshot and the student profile page. Now, some IEP writing systems will auto-generate a snapshot for you of the child's IEP, but if you wanted your own, this one is included. It does come in an editable format, so you have that as well as the student profile page. Those are great to use. And then we have, again, with our IEP meeting checklist, okay, so you can use this before, during, and after the IEP meeting. But then there are 2 different templates for emails that you can send out. And so the first one is for the parent. So just a check-in. Send this within 48 hours after the IEP meeting. Say, hey, we're checking in. This is what we discussed. Here's our action items that we have that are coming up, just so to be on the lookout for those. And then there's one for the service providers as well, saying, hey, take a minute to read the IEP. Here are some things we're going to co-work on. I would love to, finalize data collection methods together. Let's schedule a quick get together so we can collaborate on that. And then you can add in some upcoming deadlines and reminders for them so that they know, hey, progress reports are due here, or hey, their re-eval is coming up in 6 months. So don't forget that we need data for this, or whatever it may be. Just keeping your service providers in line with all of the things for students' IEP. Then you have I'm going to go into the 4th folder that we have, which is more of like compliance and like procedural safeguards type of things. These are just for educational use for you. So it's not legal advice by any means, but you have your annual IEP meeting timeline example. Again, this is per the IDEA. Your state may have different guidelines, and you have a reevaluation timeline as well. And then inside of here, we have our parent rights per the procedural safeguards. Again, educational knowledge, not legal advice, but it's breaking down the procedural safeguards because let me just say, as a veteran special education teacher and currently an IEP coach and an advocate for teachers and parents and just students in general, I read the procedural safeguards for the state of Florida where I live a couple of years ago, and it took me 2 days to get through it. Not because it's so cumbersome. It is cumbersome. It's a lot of legal knowledge and a lot of legal words that you really have to have your brain focus to understand when you're reading to understand, not just reading to read, right? Not reading for fun, although I did read it for fun because I enjoy that type of thing. But it was a lot of knowledge that I had to take 2 full days to digest. So that's what I did here was kind of break down the procedural safeguards for parents so that they have access to this in more easy to digest words. Again, educational knowledge, not legal advice. Then there's a confidentiality notice that you can share just to let everybody know, like, hey, students, we have confidentiality, we have FERPA, health records are covered by HIPAA, like here are some things to do. And then here are some, a new resource inside of this IEP meeting guide is the confidentiality tips for teachers and the rest of the IEP team. So what is FERPA? What does it mean? Parents, what does that mean for you? Why does confidentiality matter? When can you share student information? How to keep student information safe? And then a confidentiality, do this, don't do this. So that's all included in that 4th folder. And then in the 5th folder, there's additional resources for you to download. So we have our special education acronyms brochure. There is also an acronyms PDF page. So if you just wanted to hand this out instead of this just makes it cuter to hand to parents, right? And it didn't print right. I printed it real quick, and so it's not folding correctly, but yours will. Printed on colorful paper, handed out. We have a bunch of different acronyms, or a bunch of different brochures at the Intentional IEP in the shop that you can download. It's an endless growing bundle. We have one for each disability category. There's some for what is an IEP. I'll link a couple of free ones that we have here, but you can use this or you can hand out this. Those are both included. Then it goes into collaboration, and this is information for you as the facilitator and the special education teacher, but it's also really important for other team members to know as well. So there's a 4-page document that is very, very all-encompassing, I would hope, as how you feel when you see it, about collaboration and what to do when collaboration breaks down. So there's examples here within the IEP meeting, what happens when that breaks down. Collaboration reminders. Why do problems arise in IEP meetings? Continuing engagement through the breakdown, which follows through from that first page there. Then letting go of control to move the IEP meeting forward. Collaboration is dynamic. The IEP meeting facilitator's role, and then the shift starts with us. So this is a great thing for all team members to read. You can hand it out to your gen ed teachers, to your specialists, all of that, administrators, to keep everybody on the same page and keep them collaborative. It's a really great resource for that. And then the last page is for you to kind of check off for each of your IEP teams that you're a part of, a collaboration health check. And so based off of what you just read on those last 3 pages, you can check off these here. The more you have, the more collaborative, the more that you've checked off, so the more that you have, the more collaborative that your IEP meeting is. Unless you have all of the red flags checked, then you are not collaborative. So definitely take a look at that, and it will help you be a more collaborative and student-centered IEP team. Then there's a document in here for supporting general education teachers in the IEP process. And so it goes through things you can do before the meeting, things you can do during the meeting, things you can do after the meeting. So similar to that IEP meeting checklist, this is supporting gen ed teachers throughout the whole IEP process, because that is part of our job as IEP facilitators, IEP meeting facilitators, caseload managers, special education teachers. We have to support our gen ed teachers. They are our peers. They are the experts in the gen ed curriculum and the gen ed standards, but we do have to support them because we are the experts on special education and the supports that our students are receiving. And so when we support them, they can better support our students. Now, types of listening and types of talking. There's a document for each of these in here as well. So these are just great tips to know when you are facilitating IEP meetings, because you will both be talking and you will both be listening at the same time throughout the meeting. And so knowing the different types of talking, knowing the different types of listening are valuable for you as the facilitator. Again, these are all included in the IEP meeting guide. I'm going to link it below this training so you can grab it. If you have any additional questions, you can reach out at any time, support@theintentionaliep.com. And there's also some free resources and blog posts and podcasts and everything linked below this video as well. So don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel here. If you're watching on a social media channel, don't forget to hit like. If this video or this resource was helpful for you, don't forget to share it with your teacher besties and your administrators. I'm always here to help, and I will see you in the next training.